All right, welcome back into Mining Stock Daily, everybody. One of the headlines from this morning's news briefing on Mining Stock Daily was that out of a new discovery from Meridian's Santa Helena Project there in the Cabaçal Belt of Brazil. And it's been a while since I have got to connect with Gilbert Clark of Meridian Mining. So, Gilbert, it's good to have you back on the podcast. I have missed you. I know you talked to Michael McRae last time, but I've missed you. It's been a while.
Oh, gee, thanks, Trev.
But listen, we got a number of news items that come up, including this morning's news release. You put out new holes from Santa Helena. The results point to a second layer of VMS mineralization beneath the original discovery. So let's talk about that geologically. How significant is this, and how does it change your thinking about the overall scale of the system?
Oh, yeah, Trev. Look, it was actually quite a significant evolution with Santa Helena. So what we've done, we've done a whole range of surface geophysics and surface geochem over the Santa Helena target. And so we've got the resource of Santa Helena Central. And to the north of that is actually an IP anomaly, which we've called Santa Helena North. We drilled an earlier hole there. It had some anomalous values. So we thought, okay, look, let's drill down deep of it. So we drilled through, collared the hole, I think 150, 200 meters to the south of it, and of the surface anomaly. And we drilled down. And we could see in the upper part of the hole, there was a bit of mineralization that we associated with Santa Helena Central, and we continued down to about 108 meters. Oh no, it wasn't 108 meters. It was, oh gosh, what was the depth? 170 meters. Big part, 177 meters. We started hitting sulfides, which was very interesting. We then went through the sequence of VMS mineralization that went down to 184.8 meters. So in total, that was 7.2 meters of mineralization, and it was robust. And this is what I really like about this. Now, sometimes you drill a system, you'll get anomalous mineralization, but when I looked at the grades of what we encountered, they really do reflect some of the grades stronger grades that we've hit in the resources that we've drilled along the belt. So that was very important. So if you imagine two stacked lenses, the upper one being Santa Helena Central, where we've got the current resource, and then you can imagine a second lens underneath that is where Santa Helena Central is. Now, Santa Helena North is now been intercepted below it. So that's a tremendous result. And in the same hole, which I found, to be honest, I found this a little bit more interesting, we encountered visible gold. The XRF waited for the assays, and there was a good relationship. But we hadn't seen visible gold at Santa Helena before. We do get it in Cabaçal. You saw, we've had some fantastic hits there, but Cabaçal, we see visible gold in the later stage gold overpit, but we also do see it in the VMS flat-lying layers. So from that's a tremendous potential for future growth, future gold-enriched VMS, as we've seen in Cabaçal. And what does this mean to the investor? We've gone through the advancing Cabaçal DFS, Trev, and now we've increased our budget for exploration, and it's the frequency of these very robust intersections of strong mineralization over mineable width that is starting to really interest me. And this is one of the reasons why we looked at Santa Helena last year. We looked at the potential, and we decided to go for apply for the preliminary license as a second hub. And that's a tremendous thing. So if we build these resources, or these potential resources, these intersections, the one at Alamo, Santa Helena North, upside on Santa Helena Central, then we really could see a second processing hub along the belt.
Obviously, Santa Helena continues to appear it's getting larger with every new round of drilling that we've seen. But it's also unique to Cabaçal because it's a
Yeah.
little bit more polymetallic in nature. I mean, you mentioned the precious metals and the visible gold, but it also comes with a little bit more zinc and lead than Cabaçal shows. I mean, this just improve. It just seems to really continue to prove itself to be a standalone deposit, not necessarily a satellite to Cabaçal. I mean, that's absolutely the direction this thing needs to go, it seems.
Oh, that'd be a fantastic result. When we look at that with the PL Premier License, the PL under application for St Helena, very successful in its application as a community acceptance of what we intend to do at St Helena. That would give Meridian, with the Cabaçal project, 5.7 million tonnes of processing capacity along the belt. So really, we are looking to become that mid-tier producer. There's just a paucity of these type of companies on the LSE. There's barely any on the TSX. So this really gives the opportunity for any shareholder or interested party investor to come to our equities. And we're seeing tremendous liquidity in our equities now. Yesterday, we traded over 1.2 million shares in London, about 1.8 million shares in Toronto. That's a fantastic result. But as you well know, Trevor, this has not occurred overnight. This has just been systematic, structured investment to get to this stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about the different styles of mineralization between Santa Helena and Cabaçal here, Gilbert, can you kind of maybe simplify us for us geological plebes about the conventional nature of a VMS deposit compared to what you're seeing to Santa Helena? I mean, it seems like Santa Helena is a lot more complex, but obviously more valuable because of that complexity.
Yeah, it has a higher value per ton, metal, recoverable metal value than the broad Cabaçal deposit. If you look at zones mineralization like CD240 in Cabaçal, it smashes everything. 12 meters, 4 grams gold, 9% copper. Boom! That's just rocks to shock. But what I think for St Helena, particularly St Helena West and St Helena the North, for me they indicate a lower temperature part of a VMS system. So a VMS system has alteration, mineral distribution. We can roughly say it's related to the temperature of the fluids that came in. And what I see at St Helena West, St Helena North, is perhaps the low temperature peripheral of another VMS pile that we have at St Helena. And that means we're looking for the copper. So, that's what I really like to see in this deposit. A good, genuine, strong copper interval. It might take 1 week, might take 2 weeks, 2 months, 1 year, I don't know. And all these things, you got to send in the rotary lie detector and see if it comes true. But we're pretty confident with our exploration programs at St Helena.
The rotary lie detector. I'm going to have to use that sometime here. Like that one. All right, let's turn our attention to Cabaçal. You've now submitted the installation license application for Cabaçal as you continue to advance that definitive feasibility study. So let's maybe talk about those next key milestones of what investors should expect over the next 6-12 months as the project really does move closer to a construction decision.
Well, look, over the next 6 to 12 months for Cabaçal, we'll have exploration ongoing at St Helena. You want to see the completion and then reporting of the DFS in Q4, which the schedule is trending to. It would be very interesting if we actually are granted the installation license for Cabaçal. That's a major milestone, I think. And then the project financing, get that in order. We actually just last week, I was in Brazil and spent the week presenting the project, both Cabaçal and the regional aspects, to a suite of interested parties that want to actually provide us with project finance, and also a few of the banks and analysts. It was a really great week in all aspects. We're not drilling at Cabaçal. Okay, Cabaçal is closed off. We are advancing the power corridor, getting that all done and dusted. These are incremental minor things, but the contribution they come to becoming the next mid-tier producer in Brazil is actually quite significant. So that's where we're at. I think Cabaçal is on schedule. We're working very hard with our partners, Asenco and G21, to get that DFS completed. And when I look at, if I look at the crystal ball, 9-12 months' time, we'll be sticking a shovel in the ground and moving the first bit of dirt to get things rolling.
Yeah.
A couple of the other things, in question, actually, a couple of other things we're doing is surveying the roads, weight testing the roads where we have to create improvements to the roads, weight testing the bridges where we have to, either redo or upgrade the bridges. But it's we're in there. It's for any other junior that was going through the DFS stage. To be honest, you're sort of staying there kicking rocks down the road for news because you're one trick pony. We've got 55 kilometres of tenement on Cabaçal. We have 2 other greenstone belts. We are producing really quite exceptional exploration results, frequency. I mean, we're probably investing 5 times last year's budget in exploration just to see those results coming through. They're not PPB results. These are grams per tonne and percentages of mineralization that we're incurring now. So that's a tremendous result.
All right. With, the engineering work advancing for that definitive feasibility study, maybe my last question for you, Gilbert, before we let you go is, where are you seeing the opportunities for improvement with Cabaçal without going into, too much detail? Like, where do you think those biggest opportunities remain that might be reflected in that DFS?
I think the best way to answer that is how we building the DFS. What do we want to see in the DFS? Now, I'll be a bit harsh here. A few of the DFSs I've read in the years gone by, they're pretty good marketing documents. What we're doing is building a document which is the textbook to go forward. So that means we looked at aspects of the build, equipment, structure. We said, let's look at this as a de-risking or a de-bottlenecking process. So we're looking at that and saying, look, say for instance, power transformers, which we've already ordered, the first one. In our design, we're going to go by a 12 megawatt transformer. And then in year 4, we go up to 4.5 million tonnes. We'll get a 5 megawatt transformer. That was the proposition. But my team, the electrical team, looked at it and they went, well, that creates a potential bottleneck. So why don't we do 2 times 12 because we've got no power bottleneck. Production is production. So in that, you never want to have any type of bottleneck in your flow sheet, your consumables, your power, reagents. So this is something that we're looking at in our DFS. Within the DFS, we'll be completing the basic engineering. And then from that, we'll then go on to the detailed engineering post its publication. So what we're looking at is, if you're going to spend quite a considerable amount of money, it's not my money, or part of it is, it's the shareholders' money. Don't just splash that around. Invest and then survey what the result is. Just don't accept a result. And that's what I think from the DFS, it's going to be very good.
Okay, very good. All right, Gilbert, good to get this update in. It's been a long while, and you and I should be chatting quite frequently, hopefully this summer, leading up to Beaver Creek and the Precious Metals Summit, where we will finally be able to do this in person once again. But yeah, a lot happening, obviously, on the ground in the Cabaçal Belt there. Lots of drill results coming along the way from these 2 deposits, including Alamos, I believe. Like, you're still drilling Alamos, right?
Yeah, no, Alamo, not Alamos, Alamo. Yeah,
Alamo.
One of the things that I'm finding really curious about this Alamo target, it's a structurally gold overprint intersection. That's what we see along the belt. Now, to the west of us, there's a gold mine called the EPP complex, and they mine 2 things: paleo channel gold and structurally controlled gold within the Aqua P. What we are very interested, I think, and also below the Aqua P. What we announced last year that we discovered there we had auriferous hosted gold hosted in the Aqua P in the southeast of the tenement. Now, what we could face the perfect situation where the gold overprint is actually the cause of the gold and the overpeed locally. So that's again a really good exploration upside that we'll be pursuing in the months and years to come.
All right, Gilbert. Thanks so much. Good to see you. We'll talk to you again next couple of weeks.
Thanks, Trevor. Look, if anyone's got any inquiries, just send me an email at info@meridianmining.net.brazil or .co. It comes to me and I'll respond to it, as always.
He always does. All right. Meridian Mining trades on the TSX and the LSE with the symbol MNO. There's also an OTCQX ticker in the US with MRRDF. The information presented should not be considered investment advice. Mining Stock Daily and its affiliates are not responsible for any loss arising from any investment decision in connection with the material presented herein. Please do your own research or speak with a licensed financial representative before making any investment decisions.